Hi everyone, it's me, See Lefty Run. Woo, it's been a while. It's been a while. I think since Boston, right? So I'm just going to kind of fill you in on what's been happening since Boston. It's been a little and a lot. So after Boston, I was real tired. So I took, I just went eat. I took 2 weeks off, right? I was running easy for a while, and then summer hit and I jumped right back into running again, but without a lot of structure. I just wanted some unstructured running. So I was running with my run club, having a great time, running here, running there, running everywhere, and just doing whatever was fun for me. During the summer with my run club, I would run Signal Hill once a week. Signal Hill is a city inside my city. It's the most bizarre thing, and it's called Signal Hill. It's its own city, and it's surrounded all by Long Beach. So it's literally a city on a hill. And so I would do that once a week, and within 6 miles, you get about 1,000 feet of elevation gain. I was also doing track workouts and speed workouts on Tuesdays, doing a long run on Saturday, which usually ranged between 8 and 10 miles. Often I would run Signal Hill on Thursday night and then do a run on Friday morning. So what ended up happening, well, I'll get to that in a minute. So yay, got into Boston 2024. It's bittersweet because so many people, I think 10,000 people who qualified did not get in, and that's awful. That's a travesty. I'm very grateful I did get in. I had quite a wide buffer, I think like 23 minutes. So I knew I was in. I didn't think the buffer was going to be like 30 minutes. I don't know, though. It might get there eventually. I also got into Berlin because I qualified, and I also qualified for Chicago. So I was just having all this, it wasn't race luck. I had a qualifier, and that was from Rebel Big Bear, right? And that race last year for me has just been the gift that keeps on giving. So it got me in all three of those races for 2024. So I am excited about that. And I'll tell you more about that later. So the summer, it's hot. I hate running in the heat. Traveled to Scotland and Ireland with my family, had a great time, ran there, came home, continued running with my run club, having a good time, making friends, being very social, but not really thinking about how many miles I'm running each week, what kind of efforts I'm putting in. I'm just kind of doing wherever the wind takes me, because I think I'm not training for a marathon right now. No big deal. I can like overdo it sometimes or underdo it. And so I did race a few 5Ks and 10Ks in the summer. I was trying to just work on my short game, and I would do one a month, either a 5K or 10K, and I would alternate them. And I PR'd both. I think my 5K, it's not super fast. It was like a 23:30 or something like that. And then my 10K ended up coming down to like a 48 and some change. So, I was just happy that I was making progress. And then come November. So November, I ran Signal Hill on like a Thursday. This is what I'm remembering. I ran Signal Hill on Thursday. I ran like 10 miles on Friday, but they're easy, right? Easy miles. It doesn't matter if they're easy. And then I ran Signal Hill again on Saturday because I was invited by some friends, and I've just been really enjoying running with other people. So I was like, yeah, I'll go. And then I had a wedding that I went to, and that evening I was dancing, and I was like, oh, my hip. Like, oh, that was weird, my hip. So the next morning, my hip was a little sore. I took Sunday off. Picked it back up again Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and my hip was a little sore. I knew I was racing a 10K on Saturday before Thanksgiving, and so I took Friday off because my hip was sore. I raced the 10K. My whole family did it. My son improved like 6 minutes from the year prior. It was insane. My 14-year-old. My 12-year-old did the 5K, and he improved by like 10 minutes too. So I raced it. I came out third in my age group, and by the end of it, I was limping. And I was like, something is wrong, and it's my hip. So from that point, that was November 11th, I took 5 days off. And then I ran again on Thanksgiving Day, did a 5K in Torrance, wasn't going to race it. I just thought I want to see how my hip's doing. did the 5K and it was okay. And I picked up the last 2 miles and I was like, okay, ran Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. Went to see a chiropractor who I'd seen before on Monday, came out of that appointment limping. I was like, oh gosh, but did I listen to my body? No, I didn't. Who needs to listen to their body? Not me. So then on Monday or Tuesday, I ran. And then by the end of that run, I was limping. And I was like, that's it. I've got to take 12 solid days off. I've got to book an appointment with my doctor. So I took 12 long days off after, the week of Thanksgiving, made an appointment with my general practitioner, went and saw him on December 1st. While I was taking the time off, I was doing active recovery. So I was still doing the elliptical. I have one in my home. I had a new stationary bike that my husband bought like a year ago that we honestly never even plugged in. It was on a super deal and it was iFit bike. So it goes with my app. So I was cycling, I was doing the elliptical, I was doing at-home strength, watching every YouTube video on the planet about hip injuries in runners. Went and saw my general practitioner on December 1st. He's also a sports medicine doctor. I just switched to him this year when my insurance switched over. I wanted someone who specialized in sports medicine. He did an x-ray on the spot and was like, you have osteoarthritis of the hip. I don't know if you know what osteoarthritis of the hip is, but it's pretty much you have your leg, right? Whatever this muscle bone is called, and it goes into your hip. And usually if you look at an x-ray, there's space between the two. Osteoarthritis shows up as there's not, that space is closing because your hip is starting to hit the cartilage. And that usually requires total hip replacement. So I was freaked out. He was like, do not run. You need to get this looked into. I'm going to send you to an orthopedic surgeon. And he also set me up with physical therapy. Of course, the physical therapist did not take my insurance. Insurance is a whole other thing. So went to the orthopedic surgeon a couple days later after I went to physical therapy that I found. I didn't like the physical therapy place. I'm still in the process of finding one I like. But you kind of know when you go to physical therapy, like, is this what you're looking for? Is it not? And, I just felt like they were very generic exercises, didn't really understand a runner and what a runner needs. And so I was like, I'm out of here. I'm going to find one that I really feel like caters to runners. Anyway, go to see the orthopedic hip surgeon, I think on December 15th. He redoes the x-rays because I was laying down when I did them with my general practitioner. He says, you don't have osteoarthritis, which is amazing news. And I could then see in his x-ray that there was space between this and this. So from his x-ray, there was no osteoarthritis. He goes, what you have is a hip impingement, and you happen to have it on both hips. So a hip impingement is when this thing that goes into the hip socket grows extra bone over time as a defense mechanism. And that extra bone starts hitting against the cartilage or something like that. And that is what is causing your pain. And he goes, it's going to require surgery. And I said, well, doc, this is going to be a problem for me because I'm running Berlin and I'm running Boston. And he goes, well, get the surgery. Don't run Boston and run Berlin. And I was like, no, that's not going to work for me. I'm running Boston. So I can defer Berlin. So then he was like, okay, well, then maybe you run Boston and we do the surgery after Boston. Let's see if we can just get you through training. Worst case scenario, I can give you like a cortisone shot. I'm not going to do it all the time, but I'm okay with one. I was like, great. So I said, how long has this been developing? How long does this take to develop? He said about 20 years. And once he said that, I was like, so if I've had this for 20 years, why is it causing me problems now? So in my mind, I was like, maybe it's not the impingement that's causing me problems. Maybe it's some type of overuse. I don't know. So after I left him, I started running again, still had some pain, but it was manageable and it wasn't getting worse when I ran. So I was like, okay, I've just got to kind of get my base going again. And since I've been fighting with insurance because this hip doctor that I really like is not in network. And I was told he was in network, and now I'm being told he's not in network. And it's been a total disaster. Like every time I make an appointment with a doctor, I literally have to call the insurance and say, is he in network? Or I looked on the app. The app said he was in network. Oh no, you can't trust the app. You have to call us. Well, then why do you have the app? I was literally looking to a physical therapist the other day, and they're like, I said, is this physical therapist in office and network? Yes, they are. Great, lovely. But once you get there, find out who your physical therapist is. And we also have to make sure that not only is the office in network, that the physical therapist is in network too. Like, that's insanity to me. I'm like, I don't have time to just call you every 5 minutes to, how can an office be in network and then the doctor who's in the office is not? Like, that's just bizarre and crazy, and welcome to insurance. So anyway, I'm happy to report. So my friend from my run club, she's 10 years older than me. She can run every hill on the planet every day of her life if she wanted to and not get injured. At least I've never seen her get injured. And so I was like, do you have, first of all, everyone in my run club is mostly 10 years or so older than me. So I'm like, they've got to have people that they use, right? So I go and I'm like, hey, you guys, anyone you can suggest? They're all like, no. I was like, don't you get injured? Like, there's this woman in my run club who runs ultras all the time. I was like, she's going to have someone for sure. So I go up to her and I was like, hey, do you have someone? And she's like, I don't. I was like, how do you not? You run like an ultra every weekend. She goes, yeah, but I don't run fast. And she goes, that's the key. When you get older to not getting injured is you just run it for pleasure. And I was like, wow, I need to get to that place. So anyway, my other friend did have someone. And so I've been seeing him, and I mean, he's a miracle worker. So what he said to me was, I went and saw him yesterday for the second time. And he said, he did all these tests on me, like had my feet out like this, and then he would push and he'd say, resist with your foot. So I'd have to resist against his hand, pretend this is my foot. I have to resist. And then he'd go this way and I'd have to resist. I did it on both sides, and I could feel that my left side where my hip hurts is weaker. And he goes, when you push this way, there's a weakness. And he goes, look, try it with your right. He goes, do you feel the difference? I was like, I totally do. He goes, so then he got out a piece of bamboo. I would show it to you right now, but I don't want to get up and get it. But it's like a PVC pipe cut in half, like 2 inches. And he was like, but it was a piece of bamboo. And he's like, walk on this. And it hurt like hell. So I'm like walking on it. I'm trying not to cry. Like, that's how bad it hurts. He's like, just walk back and forth, walk back and forth. And I was like, okay. Has me lay back down again. He performs the same test. And this time the left was the same as the right. He goes, okay. And then he felt around a little bit and he goes, do you feel the difference? I said, yes. And he goes, okay. And he goes, oh, I see what's happening. He goes, your left arch is weak and it's causing your quad in this area to tighten up. And that's what's pulling on your hip. And so he's like, you really need to work on massaging your quad to loosen up the hip. And I was like, oh, and he goes, and you have to strengthen your feet. And I've always thought the feet thing was ridiculous. Like, I like Jada Sherry, and he's always about the big toe, right? And the feet and this and that. And I was always like, come on, really? Do I have to do toe yoga? Like, I thought it was a joke. Apparently it's not. It's a thing. If you have weak feet, it's going to cause a lot of problems for you, or it could. So I sent my husband to like get some PVC pipe and cut it in half. So I've been walking on that. I've been working out my quad, like rolling it out. And the way that he showed me to roll it, I go, oh, and he was also like, go to Daiso and get a shoehorn. And that's what you want to do to roll out your muscles. Like, this is a no frills guy. He's like, you don't need to spend all this money on recovery tools. Like, just go get a shoehorn from Daiso. This is the one I use. And he showed me like how to do it. So I did a lot of it last night. I ran yesterday. And then last night before I went to bed, since I know it's a tight quad and I can feel it now, I was like, oh, I did that Believe in the Run wrap with the arnica and the arthritis cream and the saran wrap. And I wrapped my quad in today. No pain. I'm not kidding. Okay, maybe like minimal, but so much. Like, I walked today and I couldn't feel it. Today was the first time I walked and I couldn't feel my hip pain. And I also ran 40 miles last week, you guys. I ran 6 days in a row and I ran 40 miles and I ran up to 10 miles. So that is where I'm currently at right now. I'm dealing with a hip impingement And 3 weeks ago, I was literally in tears because I was like, I'm not going to make it to the start line of Boston. Now my mentality is you'll make it to the start line. And if you have to run, walk it, you have to run, walk it. Cause I got the jacket, like I got the jacket. I got to do it now. The jacket came, it's here. So, so the plan for me that I'm going to keep. Oh, and then I also got an app called Dynamic Runner. Again, like I don't get paid for these things. Like I'm just telling you what I'm using. Dynamic Runner app. I've really been liking it. They have a strength program that kind of builds, and it's different levels: beginner, intermediate, advanced. And there's different workouts every day. And it just goes in a nice sequence. So I don't have to guess. I don't have to throw spaghetti at a wall. It just kind of tells me what to do. And then there's like a hip mobility program, like to prevent injury. They've got a lower back program, a knee program, all this. And I think it was like $80 for the year. And I was like, that's worth it to me. It's less than $10 a month. So I've been doing that, watching a million YouTube videos. My husband got me this thing for Christmas where I lay on it and it works your post exterior chain. I'm telling you, the things we do to stay well. So I start my 14-week Boston plan on Monday. I'm doing a Luke Humphrey running plan. I'm working part-time this year, and I was so excited because I was like, oh my gosh, I can train like I've always wanted to. I can do a traditional Luke Humphrey plan. And because before I would do the one, it was like an alternator where it had an SOS on Tuesday, and then my long run would have marathon paced effort mixed into it. His traditional plans are you have like an SOS on Tuesday, you have a tempo on Thursday, and your long run is a long run pace. So you're not mixing marathon pace into it. Those are the traditional plans. So I was so excited. And then I joined his Boston club, Boston group training, where he like looks over your training every week. And it's not like one-on-one coaching, it's group coaching. And instead of looking at your training daily, he looks over it every week. And so I joined that. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not even be able to do any of it. I'm going to be such a pain in the ass for him, asking all these questions, being like, why don't my hip hurt? Tell me what to do. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be that fun to coach. I'm just trying to survive and get to the start. And there's all these other people who are like, I ran 20 miles uphill at marathon pace. And I'm like, barely got out the door today. Like my hip didn't hurt. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm doing massage, chiropractor, trying to find a physical therapist. I'm going to one on Tuesday. Oh, I'm going to do acupuncture too. The physical therapist, I actually went to them 3 years ago for a running analysis, gait analysis, and apparently they take my insurance. We'll find out once I really go. And so I'm excited about going there because they specialize in runners. Like that's what I want from physical therapy. So yeah, right now I'm just hoping to get to Boston. My initial goal was to run like 3:35. Last year I did a 3:54. I did train for a 3:35, but I knew I had a qualifier. And honestly, before I ran Boston last year, I was like, I'm one and done in Boston. I had such a great time. I was like, I want to go back. And I did have a qualifier already. So on the day of Boston, when I ran, I thought, well, if the pace falls, if it falls into place naturally, great, but I'm not willing to fight for it that day because I really wanted to enjoy the experience. And sometimes if you're fighting for something, it takes out the joy, and I didn't want to risk that. So this year I was like, I'm going for broke because I already have the fun Boston experience. Now I want to kind of race it. But now my plan is shifting to, I just want to enjoy it. Or not enjoy it. I just want to get to the start healthy, and then I'll go from there. If my training, I'm still training for 3:35. I would like to do sub 3:40. So we'll see. I haven't done speed since, Thanksgiving, and my runs lately, I can't complain, but my easy runs feel hard. Like my heart rate's high, but the whole time I'm like thinking about my hip. But last week I was having some good runs where I actually forgot about my hip. And I actually did a few runs without music or listening to anything, and I really liked that. So I'm going to try to do one run a week without headphones or just go out there and do it. I'm going to still do my 14-week Boston plan. I'll do my Boston series, come along for the ride. I might cry a few times if my hip starts to act up. Who knows? But yeah, so that's what I wanted to tell you about. Berlin and Chicago. So right now I have a place in Berlin for the marathon. I can cancel it, so that's good if I need to. I'm gonna see how Boston goes and then address Berlin. Chicago, I'll defer because my friend did not get into Chicago and the goal was to run it with her. I ran it before in 2007. It was hotter than hell and they canceled it halfway through. So I feel like I deserve a redo. But the only reason for me to run it again, I already have that start, is to do it with her. So I was like, I'll defer to 2025. If she doesn't get in, I'll still do it. So that's my plan. My ultimate goal is just to be a lifelong runner, you guys. And so I have to figure out, I'm 45. Can you still chase PRs? Yes. But is it at the risk of like getting injured? Is it at the risk of being a lifelong runner? I don't know. But more important to me than speed is just being able to be like 60 and 70 and running. My good friend in my run club, he's 71. He can run a faster 5K than me. And I want to be him. His name's Neighbor. I want to be Neighbor. Like that's who I want to be when I'm in my 70s. I want to just still be running. So I hope your running is going well. I hope you're not injured. But come on the journey with me. And if you do get injured, we can cry together. No. But right now I'm feeling very hopeful and I hope that stays. I have good people in my pocket. Oh, did I tell you my hip doctor's not in network either after I did the appointment? So now I'm fighting with insurance to get him back in network. He's also a marathon runner too, which I think matters. So, but right now I don't feel like I need surgery at all. Like if this is the way it is, it's totally fine. So yeah, oh, my MRI was denied twice, but I kind of don't want the MRI because I think even if you're feeling good, but if you've been running for many, many years, I bet you the MRI is going to show some stuff. And then I don't want that to get in my head. So I don't even want the MRI right now. That's where my head is. Anyway, hope all is well. Happy New Year. And I'll see you next week. I'll tell you how my first week of Boston training has gone. I have some marathon paced efforts in there on Thursday, which I think I'm going to do at Cal State Long Beach with my run club. They kind of haul sometimes at the end. So I'm just going to see if I can do those workouts with them and then take it from there. Oh, and then I also bought a hydration vest. So on my long runs, I can like go to Palos Verdes and stuff. I don't have to stay, since I'm not doing marathon pace work in my long runs. It's just long run pace. I don't have to just do loops. When I do marathon pace work, I really like to just do loops around the park because I can focus. Anyway, I'm going on and on and on. Have a great running week, whatever you're doing, and I'll see you next week.